Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. It's trouble big time for business tycoon Gautam Adani because a US court, that is the US Department of Justice and Securities Commission, has indicted Gautam Adani and seven others, including his nephew Sagar Adani and three other executives, on charges of fraud and bribery. Now, the case pertains to a deal between Adani Green Energy Limited and a US firm to sell 12 gigawatts of solar energy to various states like Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and so on. Now, it's a case which deals with a bribe case of 2,000 crore, where the money has exchanged between Adani Green Energy and that US firm and several Indian officers, the state officials of the states I named. Now, Adani has come out with a statement saying that all these allegations are baseless. They will go for a legal recourse. Rahul Gandhi had held a press conference in the afternoon and he said that Adani must face arrest. Now, what is going to be the repercussion of this big development which has shaken the entire corporate world? As far as the corporate governance is concerned, serious questions are being raised, and US Securities Commission has done what the Indian courts, what SEBI just could not do. Now, is Prime Minister Modi's position getting absolutely untenable? Joining me now this evening is author, political analyst, and former Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha. And Sanjay Jha is closely clued to this story right from the morning. He's been with me on various platforms for discussions, and it will be very insightful to hear him on this particular issue. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining on HW News. And your first thoughts to this big development, which has really shaken the entire corporate world. What do you think is going to be the immediate repercussion of this US indictment of Gautam Adani?
Firstly, Neelu, I think when the Hindenburg report called Adani Group as the biggest con in corporate history, the Adani Group stood and gave a big lecture on Indian nationalism, an attack on the Indian, formidable economic story of the future with a very nationalist tinge. And of course, the BJP, I have always believed, has been the ultimate public relations and legal counsel for the Adani Group. This time, it will be hard to escape because this is coming from the market regulator in the United States. And it's pretty obvious that the SEC would not be encouraging an arrest warrant out for people like Mr. Adani because, he is considered to be amongst the richest people in the world politically and connected and a very powerful business figure. They have done their homework. I can tell you that to people who follow the Adani Group, there is nothing surprising or astonishing at all about the revelations. It is expected, the whole bravado, the braggadocio that, we will take it up, we'll take a legal recourse. But I think at this moment, the government of Mr. Modi, frankly, the Prime Minister himself should speak because the allegations have been about Mr. Adani's proximity with the Prime Minister, right? That's been the seminal charge. And what we find here is that the allegations are extremely severe. And remember, this is not just about accounting fraud or stock price manipulation that Hindenburg had talked about. This is about bribery, which, having worked with a couple of American institutions like Bank of America and Alliance Capital, I can tell you they take it seriously. Their institutions, fortunately, I would say, is not as fragile as ours. Look at SEBI. I'm surprised how Madhvi Puri Butch has not resigned today out of pure self-respect. I mean, there's got to be some iota of your own personal integrity. But that is the story as we talk. This is going to have repercussions. And I think Mr. Adani will find it very, very difficult to get out of this entire imbroglio, because from here on, I see the problem only getting from bad to worse for him.
No, but do you think that Adani could still explore an exit door for himself, given the fact that Trump will assume presidency in January, and given the proximity of Trump with Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Do you think that Adani somehow will be able to work up his way?
Well, if Mr. Donald Trump wants to damage his own credibility at the very start of his presidency, good luck to him. The fact remains that, as I said to you, Neelu, The US courts, for example, uh, we can criticize many of the judgments. One can, take the FBI to task. Every institution does have some degree of, pressures from various quarters, but they are independent in America to a large extent. Uh, can you imagine the former president had to face the courts? He was indicted. Do you think that could ever happen in our country? The answer is no, right? I mean, look at Madhavi Puri Butch. Look at Indian big media. I mean, they backed for Mr. Modi and the powerful businessmen when their job is to question the powerful. So,
Absolutely.
these are ironies of our time. Why are you and I debating this so vigorously on your program, Neelu? Because we know that the big TV channels are going to try and black this out, or at the most, they will, briefly talk about it today. So I think Mr. Adani has a lot to explain. The tragedy, Neelu, is this: that can you imagine that the Supreme Court appointed a committee that frankly was as good as comatose. Uh, the SEBI, the most fraudulent, duplicitous, shameless organization on the face of this earth. Mr. Modi's government, well, the lesser talked about it, the better. Shameless to the core, brazening it out, basically even denying Rahul Gandhi his MP's seat. They actually kind of went after him with, saying that he needs to be criminally defamed and deprived of his Lok Sabha seat. We know what happened to Mahua Moitra. This is a whole conspiracy. And why would Mr. Modi's government put its neck on the line for Mr. Gautam Adani? That's a question that the people of India need to find the answer to, because it is obviously related to political funding. That will have to be investigated. I was actually very astonished that when the electoral bond scam came out, Neelu, you found Mr. Adani was conspicuous by his absence, right? So you're keen to know, how did Mr. Adani return the favors for all the multiple airport contracts? The way the government has looked away from many of the shenanigans his group has committed. The SEBI literally sleepwalking around, and it's all happening in broad daylight. So I think there is a can of worms, a Pandora's box, which I think is now inevitably going to surface. And the allegations are extremely serious. Remember, the US is very sensitive about misleading of investors. So the charges here are that you misled investors, you raised monies. By the way, they also lied to the Indian Stock Exchange by saying that there were no such, investigations on asking them questions on the, tip-offs of payments made, and also the fact that at the end of the day, and that's what comes out in the report, that Mr. Adani's group was willing to pay bribes and in turn inflate the prices of electricity and energy and recover the bribes and make more profits. I mean, to
No,
me, this
right.
should cause a public revolt across the country.
Stay ahead with our cutting edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.